Welcome back to the studio. We're going to revisit pasta today. At one point, somewhere along the way, we made pasta, fresh pasta. And so I've got some fettuccine here just waiting to be cooked. What are you going to serve with it? You know, and I don't know, a lot of times we'll go get a jar of ragu, and nothing against the ragu company, but it's not very good. I have found something amazing, and I'm going to show you a book first before we get started. Frankie's Spuntino. It's a great little restaurant in Brooklyn. And basically, this book is a kind of a primer, if you will. You know, maybe a new couple, maybe somebody that's just getting into cooking for the first time. It's amazing. They go through the process of the equipment that you're going to need if you're going to cook Italian food, but rustic Italian food. And the sauce in here is so simple, you're going to love it. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, first off, and I'm going to make this in a smaller sauteuse as opposed to a stock pot, but you can make it in a regular saucepan or a stock pot. And really what we're going to do, we need olive oil, quickly, extra virgin, and this Bertolli is great. You don't want to spend a lot of money. This is about $6 for this one. You know, we're going to use a lot of olive oil in this. We're going to use some fresh garlic. We're going to use tomatoes. And we'll just go through each process and talk to you about it as we go. Let's start with the olive oil. We're going to need about a cup. And so, you know, I'm going to measure this, right? You get a cup of olive oil. That's about a cup. That's a lot of olive oil. No, it's not. Olive oil is good for you. So fresh garlic, I keep it in the house. I go, you know, don't go and buy this stuff that's in the jar with the oil. That's not good. I want to show you how to do this with the garlic. Very simple. We're just going to crush that with our palm. And you see how it opens up like this? And we're going to take, now for this recipe, really about 6 cloves. I like 8, but we'll go with 6, just because we don't have time to go through the process. I got my chef's knife out, and you can use a cleaver or whatever you've got. Let me show you what to do here. Just going to set it on top of it, a quick whack, okay, and we're just going to take off the skin, and then we're going to right into the olive oil. Okay. Now, I'm just going to put this to the side for a moment. Okay. We're going to pretend like we got lots of garlic in there. And we're going to bring up the temperature a little bit. And you don't want to burn it, because the minute you burn the garlic, it's going to be bitter. And so you want to gently watch it. And I happen to have a spoon, and I just need to move down this area just real quick. And again, you know, I like a gas oven. Hopefully you've got one at home. It's easy to regulate the flame. You know, with an electric oven, you're going to have to, or a stove, you're going to have to move things around. So you can see as you get a little bit of heat, you're going to get a little bit of a, looks like eddies in your oil. If you're used to the ocean, you know what eddies are talking about. We're going to bring down the heat a little bit. And so what we want to try to do is infuse this oil with the garlic. And then we're going to come in with a little bit of crushed red pepper flake. Just pick it up at the store. It's not very expensive. You can crush your own, but, you know, I didn't get up at 4 o'clock this morning, so I didn't have time, right? And you can put as much as you want in. You know, you want a little, you want a lot. If you like it spicy, I like it spicy. And so we're just going to cook that, kind of let all those flavors meld together. And now we're going to talk about tomatoes. Now, this is a 28-ounce can of tomatoes, and you can get crushed tomatoes, you know, but I like to get whole tomatoes. You can get American tomatoes, but I like Italian tomatoes. Well, why can't you use fresh? You can use fresh, but, you know, you're not going to have fresh tomatoes with the exception of July and August. The rest of the time, they come from a hothouse, and they're usually hardened, no flavor. So, these cost a little bit more, but when you're in Des Moines the next time, you know, there's so many great ethnic stores there. And Gateway Market is one place that you can get this, but I found a little Italian store in Clive, but they're Pomodori, and they're from Naples in the south of Italy, and they're aroma tomato, and they're really good, okay? The area that they come from, San Marzano in particular, it's a volcanic area, so there's going to be a minerality to the tomato, and you don't need sugar. You know, a lot of times when we make pasta sauce, and we have to add a little sugar to balance out the acid. These are perfect. It has a little basil in it too. What I've done is opened 2 cans, 28-ounce cans, put them in a bowl, and I went ahead, and since they're whole tomatoes, I just crushed them with my hands. I opened them up a little bit, and then there's just a few seeds in them and a little bit of basil. And so here's the sauce. We're going to go ahead and add the tomatoes to the sauce. The only thing left is a little bit of salt. I have that as well. And some basil and oregano. I'm using fresh basil. I wanted to show you a couple of different varieties of basil while we're at it. This is a purple ruffle. It's got a nice color to it, and I think it's great for salads. I like to use it for salads. Of course, it's nice with some cheese and a caprese salad with fresh tomatoes. Then we've got a Thai basil as well. And this comes from, well, Thailand, actually. And we're gonna do some, well, I'll get, yeah. So, Thai basil, nice. And then our regular standard Italian basil. These have got some seeds on it. I'm going to go ahead and take these guys off. And I'm just going to take a couple of leaves. It's very strong. It's a great smell. And then a little bit of fresh oregano as well. And we just happen to have our herb garden here on campus. So this is going to go in. And I would cook this 30 minutes. But if you cook it 4 hours, it's even better. And let it reduce. I think that's a real key to success because you allow the infusion to take place. So I'm going to set this off to the side. Actually, let me get just a little bit of boil on this. And 4 hours, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you make your pasta, you know, you come in and start your sauce. So by noon, everybody eats, you know. Geez, that's asking for a lot. But, you know, you got nothing else to do on Sunday, so. So we got a little boil on it, and I'm just going to set it off to the side because I want you to see the process. Now I also have a pot of boiling water. Well, it will be boiling in a minute. A little bit of salt. You got to have salt. So we're going to use salt. Remember, we didn't use any salt in the pasta. And so what we want to do is salt the water. Salt in the pasta is going to stiffen the dough up a little bit, so really the flavor is going to come from the salt into the water. So just make sure that you've got a lot more water than you've got pasta, okay? And ideally, especially with dried pasta, if you're using dried pasta, you want to have, you know, I don't know, 10 times the amount of water to the pasta that you're going to cook because it's going to stick together. Fresh pasta is a different thing. So I want to add a little bit of salt to my pasta sauce as well. And just salt to taste. And if you like pepper, you can add some black pepper, but because we use the red pepper in it, I don't think it's necessary. And so, serving bowls. And another key ingredient is some Parmigiano Reggiano. It's going to be a little bit of money, but it beats the heck out of the Kraft. I think the Kraft, you know, cheese is great in a pinch, but once you try this, you're going to be happy. So, the salt's going to bring up the temperature a little bit. And this is just fine right now. And I'm going to just take... What I've done is added a colander to this. And so the colander is going to catch all the pasta. And I've got my other handy spoon. Fresh pasta takes very little time to cook. And you want to go in and stir it. A lot of people say, well, you know, I use oil in mine. Don't use oil in it because here's what happens. You put oil in the water because you want it not to stick together, and traditionally with dry pasta that happens. But if you get in there and stir it, you're going to be fine. What happens when you put oil on it is that you put it in your bowl, you put your sauce on it, the sauce runs off of the pasta. It doesn't stick to it because the oil as a lubricant impedes the process. So that's one of the reasons that we don't use any oil. You know, of course, you have guys argue with you about it, but well, that's what I've always done. No. I mean, if you want to go ahead and use oil, that's great. You know, I don't want to cause any problems at home. You know, Dad always used oil, but go ahead. Okay, see? And if you want to, you know, I just take a little piece out of it. Almost. There's a fine line. I think that you want to think about too hard and way too soft. What happens when it's too hard? You know, you break a tooth. Got to go to the dentist. That's not going to happen. But if it's too soft, it just disintegrates, and I don't think that's a good thing. If you've got a nice gluten in your dough, you did a nice knead on it, you're not going to have any problem. So, let's do this. You know, I'm such a messy guy. I don't have any, like, folks to help up here on this. Maybe I should have some students come in. They could clean up my mess for me, huh? Okay. So I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of pasta here. And we're not going to give you too much. Let the water be a part of this process. Especially with the dry pastas. The starchy water is actually going to work as a binder, you know, when you put the sauce on it. This guy's trying to escape. Okay, so this is cooked for 4 hours, magic of TV. I'm going to go ahead and use a ladle so I can get all of this. We're just going to go across the top, and this is very rustic. And the final touch, this is a microplane. If you haven't seen one, you can use a box grater. Most of us probably have that at home, but this is a fun tool. You can use it on lemons, oranges, on the zest, or you can grate your cheese with it. And it just does a great job at grating, okay? And so, set this off to the side because you're probably going to want more cheese. And there you go, pasta. What'd it take? A couple minutes, right? Easy to do. Thanks for stopping by.